still haven't had the book. You shouldn't have this Claire's book.
Yeah. So we're doing week 7.
Yep.
Probably skip the warm-up discussion.
Yeah, we just,
Yeah.
we already did.
We did that.
Without recording.
So that's 5 minutes. Okay. So abstract 1, rewrite. So as we read it and read it.
Read it, reverse score. Wait, so now we're rewriting, not just reading and reading.
Why are we rewriting it though? That's new.
That's new. I think when we
I
did
have the
change
wrong
on
video.
us. No, I see.
This is a video from March 10th.
What about the story circle time cues?
This is the first one from January.
I think already did say he's making some changes on this.
How are we supposed to know to do that?
We have to rewrite it into A, B, C.
Okay.
I think that's why it gives us so much time. So now we have to.
Not
rewrite.
together though, right? Like
No,
individually.
Individually, yeah.
So we can agree.
I just noticed. I'm sorry. He did mention to me and I completely forgot. He said he was going to do something different. are we right, or are we supposed including the 7.5 minutes talking?
Mm-mm,
No, just right.
I don't think so.
Well, I didn't really read it very well that
Okay.
time.
Okay.
No, how to do that when you don't have to type that.
So other people were having issues as well, wasn't just me.
Absorption. I know the absorption, what is absorption, what the word?
I'm assuming it's
It's
like
the opposite.
the opposite of
So
that.
it's when things fall
Spit it
off.
out.
Absorbing it is
Spit it out.
Yeah.
like repelling, but not that
Okay,
repelling.
okay. I just never know that word, that's so weird.
It's used a lot in like surface chemistry,
Is it?
laser things.
Okay.
But it's not like it's excreting something, right? It's just like,
It's really anything that
Like
like pulls off the
unabsorbing it.
surface, yeah.
Mm.
So like polymer scientists use MALDI, which is laser desorption ionization, where you shoot a laser at it and blast off pieces.
that you
Okay.
want to, right?
Yeah.
Here it doesn't have to at all.
Yeah.
This is unwanted absorption.
if I was instructing this writer, right, so I don't understand this as a reader, so what can you add that would allow me to understand it better? Hard to know since we didn't write it, but.
Hmm. Yes, now you have to read all 5 abstracts at once.
We're rewriting them this week.
So what?
Rewriting them, so each abstract are trying to
So that's why
change
we're.
them, mark what the weak points are.
Wait, we just changed it to abstract 1 discussion now. So, okay,
Okay, so,
so
This
who
is
has a
definitely
rewrite?
the right one, right?
No,
This is very different.
yeah,
you know, this
it
is the
is.
newest video,
Yeah,
what's
it
in the
is
Dropbox.
I think Randy
It's
said
in
this.
such- okay. Abstract
So
one.
instead of just reading the score, we now rewrite the abstracts. So we already did the number 1 and number 2, now we're going to talk about it. You can see we didn't do much more than you, so don't worry. So
So
I.
you're the moderator, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
you're the
so,
moderator, okay, go for it.
I guess we can go through each person and say what the weak points are and strong points and how you would try and restructure it, Sharon.
Are we
I-
scoring these? Sorry.
Yeah.
Do we wanna
Yes,
score?
yeah.
Yeah, we'll score.
I had a 1, because I have no idea what this person tried to
Okay.
do, it's really bad.
I did 3.
I also gave it a 3.
I'm
So,
harsher.
what was your harshness, Sharon?
Because I couldn't find a but anywhere, and I forget about the therefore is really not a therefore, even though I used the therefore, but it's not really contentized as a therefore, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think this is totally jumbled writing.
I found a lot of buts and therefores, but no information to give me any context for them.
I totally
Like-
agree with that.
Like he says, and yeah, 2 cases of time to reach peak total torque are at different stages, so that could be like a however or a but. Then there's lots of conclusions, kind of,
Yeah.
but no context, so I'm like, why, I don't know what we're talking about.
So this therefore is not what we're looking for, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
It's-
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
And
we
I
agree.
agree, that also stuck out to me as the and yet was like, definitely seemed like you were going somewhere at that point, and then it just kind of.
Keeps
Right.
going.
Yeah. And I had no idea what the aim of the whole thing was, which is sort
Right.
of why I said I was having issues rewriting it, because I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah, I put at the top, like my rewrite was, to add a description of like some and, right, tell me what we're talking about, so then I can know, I can follow it, but I have no idea where we started, because they start right in the middle, it seems.
So I attempted to start bringing some structure here, so I started by saying the dynamic transmission characteristics of HVD can be influenced by many factors, including A, B, C, D, F, G. And then I was just starting to group them into one group that will shortening the soft starting time, and another group, but there was these 2 things that will actually make it
Interfere,
longer,
right, yeah.
make it longer, then that's the but, right?
Mhm.
And then so I would say my therefore would be therefore to understand what makes it shorter, what makes it longer will help me to design,
Mhm.
a much better HVD or whatever. So that would be how I was gonna go, but I didn't get the time to get there.
But that makes more sense, just that helps it makes more,
Yeah.
like
Right,
just hearing you
right.
say that helps.
Yeah, so basically there's so many factors affects this shortening time, a softening time, but then they didn't group like the ones that make them shorter, the one, another things will make them longer, and that
Well, I
helps.
just pointed out that like all of line 3 through 5 are like this just list of like random variables.
Mhm.
And I
Right.
have no idea where they're going with them, and they don't really bring them up later, but they sort of do like at random times,
Yeah,
so.
that's why I think it would be helpful to group them into categories of like this, it could be some of this, some of that, or some of this category, and then you can.
Effective of those factors,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, so that's why I think that would be how I will approach it, but yeah, this is really terrible.
Yeah.
I read it, I
levels.
mean, I really read it like 3 or 4 times, I still couldn't get anywhere, like what exactly what they were trying to say.
Okay.
This, you agree, number 1?
Yeah, I just read it quickly, but.
Maybe you will make more audio by you writing quickly. We read too much, we couldn't figure anything out.
I feel like there are a lot here too. There's no in the first one there's no transitional words.
Right,
So it doesn't lead you from one
One
sentence to
the next.
it
to
just
another.
kind of go
Right.
on and on.
Which I think is
and
part
on.
of the reason I can't even tell sentence by sentence whether you're looking at A, B, or T. Like it's just everything seems a random sentence.
Yeah.
Okay, number 2.
So number 2, we can rate it. Sharon.
This one is a lot better, it would be maybe 5.
Okay.
Actually, I give this one a 1.
Oh,
2. I gave it a 6. Okay. The low. Okay.
yeah,
This one also I thought was, well not also, but it's mostly AAA. I found it to be just a lot of background information, but no buts or therefores, no. They didn't get to a conclusion of any sort, and there was no intervening, however, this is.
So I actually thought that the beginning starts out pretty well. You can see where it's going and it makes sense.
Uh-huh.
And then it
Sure.
introduces a button and kind of like falls in the deep end and like it's totally lost. So in my like rewrite, I essentially just cut the last like 4 sentences, and I think it makes like a very coherent sort of
Just
message.
cut the last
So I
4
think they just had
sentences?
issue. The last like 4 lines for sure, and then rearrange the one before that. You can kind of make a conclusion. So I think it goes into like a bunch of things, and therefore they don't make sense, because you have the A's of like, well, we're forming these deposits in machinery and it's not good, and these desorption deposits also happen and need to be addressed. We've done a lot of reports on the formation of these deposits, but we never really looked at the desorption, and that's where I felt like the direction they were going.
Okay,
is
that's
that-
where you find the but, I couldn't pick
Yeah.
that out.
So the but is that none of which, however, addresses the desorption phenomenon as part of the deposit formation mechanism. So if you go on from there to rewrite a sentence and say, you know, this study is like looking at the desorption or whatever, it ends up becoming a coherent ABT argument.
I'm not sure if I agree completely, 'cause I don't know who you.
Because I couldn't pick the T out of it,
Right.
even though I
Well,
agree that's a
yeah.
B.
Well, that's why I said
a T.
That's why I said too, it's hard for me when I can't see where it's going, because if that is what the paper's about, then you could make this like an okay abstract by
right,
cutting it off. If it's not what the paper's about,
It's
then
better
like
than,
not
the way
good.
you organize it, at least I figured out the A and the B, that there was no T, I still couldn't figure out
For
the
sure.
T, yeah.
And I think that there have been a number of reports, none of which, however, addresses the desorption phenomenon, is the B, but it's like an introduction to the actual but. It's like,
Yeah,
other
it
people
seems
have
like
done
it.
studies and none of which though have addressed this particular thing, which is why we're doing it, and therefore here's what we found, like they
Yeah.
missed that.
Yeah. So what would be a T, let's see, so if we follow what David's logic, you know, we know these deposits are bad, especially when they dissolve, then, you know, we have studies of these deposits, but nobody ever studied the desorption. And maybe the therefore would be, study the factors that can affect the desorption, will make us, prevent whatever the last sentence is, you know,
Well, they have several
countermeasure.
things about this like polar stuff, so I kind of rewritten those sentences as like, we now consider the polar properties of lubricating oils and evaluating the formation, dissolution, and absorption of deposits. If that's what the paper's about.
I still don't think that that's a therefore.
Cause that is.
I mean, it
only-
doesn't
It's
give
just
you
saying
any
it's
conclusion.
It's just
like
saying
it's
they
all-
considered it, right.
But there's no actual conclusion from it, like therefore,
Right.
It'd be
we
like-
considered it, but what?
Yeah, it would be like, I looked at this book and I read that book, and I found a few interesting things in this book. That's my paper. It's like,
But
I don't
also,
care.
also the fact that if we use David's A and the B lands on, but there is really no, understanding of the desorption, phenomena. But then the rest is still only talked about the deposit, not the
Yes, the rest
absorption.
is kinda
That's
all
the
over the
problem,
place.
you know.
Right,
That's
So,
true.
right, then in my, you know, world of books, it would be, the but would be, and a bunch of other people have written about these books, but none of them have covered this one thing. But then I looked at some other books too.
That's right. Nobody's
So-
still looking at this one thing, yeah, yeah,
That's
that's
true.
But I'm not gonna write about it either.
Okay, so, what,
You made a valiant effort, though, I gotta say that.
I thought it was
Your rewrite was helpful.
significantly better than this first
Really?
one.
I
Cause
did
the
the same
first
that
one
too.
I read and I got nothing out of it.
You're
The
starting from
second
zero,
one-
though,
The
yeah.
second one I got a little bit out of it, like I could kinda see where they were going, so I give it a huge advantage over like number one.
Yeah.
so what is this? Question, 5 minutes? What is, oh, we're not, only two abstract, not all the 5, so just 2 abstract, and now we're into question. That means the reading
The
the
story.
story.
Okay,
What
are we
happened
doing
to
the fictional
story
story
reading?
or
Yeah,
the
well, no, the nonfiction
The
first,
nonfiction
right?
first.
non-fiction first?
And then fiction
Okay.
later.
I'm the moderator.
You're the moderator, you better get this pat down.
I don't have a book.
This didn't come with
Okay, we have
instructions,
this
so
one.
that, the instructions for this are not in my book either.
Okay. Okay, so which one? This is
So
the
this
nonfiction?
Nonfiction in
Okay.
the sheets, yeah, let's see.
Yeah, I have the
Okay.
fiction.
Do you have, okay, alright. This is
No,
the one.
Start IME doctoral program.
Yeah.
And who has question?
I have
I think it's
paragraph, this has a question.
Okay, so this is on you, Biz.
So this would say, nothing makes sense except in the light. Oh, is that what it is? No, that's a
Yeah,
sentence.
that's the word, but the question and the word go together.
Oh, okay.
Downstairs on our third printer said wants breaking. One of them, just the screen is not to show anything but black. So it's not fancy, it actually can't use it.
nothing about the doctoral program makes sense except in light of IME's interdisciplinary spirit and collaborative practice.
Thoughts?
I think that works, but maybe even if another level, it's talked about IME's, actually, would like to see called out a little bit in IME's objective to providing technological solutions for society's pressing problems. Then the educational program, nothing makes sense in this educational program in the light of, I would say, because this is the educational program, or in the light of educating the next generation of innovation leaders that needed to address those problems or something to that light. I mean, that is true, but it's more on the research side, collaborative, and, that the educational program is really talking about people need to be educated to do those translational science.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do think that, I mean, I have, like, if I was gonna pick one word, it would be problem solving,
Mhm.
Yeah.
collaboration.
Yeah.
And I think the students perceive the program to be an opportunity for them to learn how to collaborate.
The collaboration.
To solve
might-
those problems.
Uh-huh. Collaboration probably is a word to be focused on.
Mm.
Um,
And the problem solving, I think, is really important. I've
Problem
listened to
solving
Matt talk a couple
is-
times now, recently,
is very important.
and he talks about that all the time, about it being outwardly facing. Like, I heard him talk to the Industrial Associates meeting, like, in the opening, and he was saying how it's, that the IME is outwardly focused,
Mhm.
where a lot of, like, science research programs are inwardly focused on what's going on in the lab, and they may pass along their research to somebody else to create an application, yeah, but we do both.
Mhm.
And that's the thing that's unique about the IME.
Okay, so sentence, who that was?
Whose sentence? I'm the paragraph, right? Is that Navi?
No, this is my story.
Maybe Carolyn,
This is
so.
probably Carolyn.
Sentence
So,
is Carolyn.
so you have to fill in because you have to
Oh,
navigate.
is that me? Everything. So, sentence template, blank and blank, but blank
Just say
therefore
ABT.
blank.
Yeah, so it's ABT basically.
Give me a second. So I guess I would say something like, IME unites a variety of disciplines and brings together students from diverse backgrounds, but breaks from the standard PhD program. Therefore, it advances its quest for breakthrough scientific discoveries and technological innovations to address the world's most pressing problems, something like that.
Sounds good to me.
Hmm.
I would say that sounds good, but I think you have it right there, the ordinarily didn't do that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the B I was thinking. Ordinarily, science and engineering is separated.
But the IME unites these disciplines, which therefore is essentially the
So there was actually, in my opinion, if you truly address a educational program, even though it is still the nature of IME but is right here. But I think there is another but I was thinking about at the beginning of the second paragraph, say, unlike a traditional PhD program in any specific field, our student comes from a diverse background, all these fields, so that will almost be a stronger but especially relates to the education program. Because the this is more sort of IME, so to speak, identity. This is our educational program's unique identity, is students coming from. Cause I mean, you would say majority of the disciplines have students from that disciplines coming into graduate school from that disciplines. But this is like one of the strongest things. I don't know, the other thing I was thinking maybe can also point out is, you did include it in here but not strongly called out, is not just technical skills that we're instilling through this educational program, it's a holistic leadership program, at least, to my opinion. It includes communications, business acumen, as well as technical know-hows. So that sort of so to me, I mean, that's, if I just put all the things right aside, if you want to articulate why IME's program is different from others, one is this hugely diverse background of the students from everywhere. Even though in some field you still have get some PhD program has some physics student and chemistry department, but not as diverse as ours, so that's one thing. The second thing really is that we emphasize more than just technical know-hows, but also communication skills, business,
You don't think that the last sentence here communicates that?
You have that in there,
Strongly
just,
enough?
I think you could call out a little bit more, beyond the deep end. Yeah, so you have the spirit of that, continue to expand your knowledge and the skill. Beyond the deep end and academic grounding in. It's in there, I just think, so maybe you just, make that a little more concise, that's all it is.
Maybe punch up the.
Yeah, it's
language a
in
little
there,
bit.
yeah. And also, so most of the time, the knowledge is related to like technical knowledge, and then the communication leadership is our skills. So you just say, technical knowledge and then, the skills.
Yeah, I think I was trying to blend those together because I think that is what we're trying to do.
Right.
Is that.
Then you just
we're
say that.
kind of putting them
Yeah,
together.
Yeah, you can just say technical knowledge and, business communication skills or leadership skills, call them all. And then that just calls out. But I know you have it in there, I just couldn't just grab onto the bone of it.
It's a long document.
Yeah.
I have a tendency for long, so.
The other thing, I just thought you might wanna have a little bit more transition from who IME is to our educational program.
Yeah.
That's a little abrupt, so I just thought maybe you wanna add so the first one talked about IME's general mission, then maybe the second one is sort of to say, in addition, IME's mission also includes educating the next generation of innovation leaders through a unique, program, and then you PhD program, whatever. Then you can flow into student diversity. So that sort of is a nice transition sentence. I mean, it doesn't have to be exactly that wording. It just needs a little transition from IME as a entity to a education program. Otherwise, it's just a little abrupt. That's all. Are we done with sentence? I thought we're already done with the paragraph. We're still on sentence. Hey, you have 10 minutes, David.
I didn't
Keep
know I was
at it.
going to, so
Keep
I was supposed to
at
be the
it.
moderator, but I guess I'm everything.
No, I mean, we are working through that sentence. So what is really the but here then? I think for the educational program, but will start with,
The butt's kind of spread out far, I think.
I think I was trying to have the first.
I think the therefore is really clear, that's good. I like the last sentence of the paragraph.
I think I was trying to give it like a small, like a summary in the first paragraph, and then stretch it back out in the second paragraph, and then come back around to close it out.
Yeah, I can see that. That works. Just a sentence.
I wish there'd be a little more,
Stronger but.
yeah, of like what's, I mean, you're saying what's different without saying what the standard used to be. There's only the one sentence, right?
Yeah.
Ordinary science.
We don't wanna
engineering.
bow.
And I know we don't wanna focus on
I
other
can't
things.
bash other, I can't be like, unlike,
Oh,
you know,
right.
MIT, we are,
Well, you can do
we
that
are
against
awesome,
things
like.
in general, but, or like in particular, but you could definitely do general discussions of how like coursework would be organized differently, or like,
Yeah,
you
so,
know, I
yeah,
don't know.
you're right, this, I was envisioning this as, like, if this was a landing page, like if you were like, huh, I wonder what the IME is all about, you click on that, and there could be links to,
In there, yeah.
further details, right, so here, like, research and coursework they undertake as part of the PhD program, link, they could click it down into that,
So here is your.
like imagining it on a web page
Yeah,
rather than
yeah.
just a full explanation, but you're right, it could be more.
So here is your trigger in the transition sentence, you could even say, our mission includes educating next generation of innovation leaders through a innovative curriculum. When you highlight the curriculum, people can click on that they can go there, and, whatever, so.
But, so this is my dilemma in writing this, because I was trying to avoid putting in, what I had before, had so many adjectives. It was like, we're exciting and innovative, and it's like, that means nothing if you don't explain what it is, or if you don't show what it is. So that
That's
was.
why you hyperlink them.
That's, yeah, that's where I'm probably going. But the danger I feel like in that is clicking on that innovative curriculum, and then it has to be innovative then, right? If you have like the hot link to it, it really has to be, like, they have to look at it and go, wow, this really is unlike any other place. I'm not sure that is the
Yeah.
case. It is unlike any other place, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure just looking at our curriculum that you get
Would
that
convey
idea,
that.
right?
Yeah.
Right. Cause a lot of the point is that it's stitching together all these different types of classes, which all exist elsewhere, right? You can take a communications class at any other school, but the difference is at IME, it's like incorporated into the department's curriculum,
Right.
right?
What's innovative about it, I feel like, and I just put slides together for a presentation that I'm giving tomorrow, is that it's tailored,
Yeah.
right? Other schools, you just get like here's your track, take these courses, take them in this order, that's it. Here, you come here, you kind of get assessed, right? And they go, okay, well, here's what you need to take. You're gonna take this first, maybe that second, and then we'll see how it goes, and then you may take this over here. So it's a little bit more fluid.
Yeah, so actually there are two words you can consider. Matt used to call our approach, our institute, a organization, a problem-based organization. In other words, we focus on problems.
Right.
Then you can also call our curriculum a need-based curriculum, because it needs to know what you are lacking to do what you wanna do. So based on your background and what you wanna do, and assesses that gap, and then that's how you design your
Right.
courses.
Well, it could also be problem-based, right? So the presentation I'm giving tomorrow, I say that we're problem-oriented. Actually, problem-based is probably a better way to put it. I'll change that, but you could say that our curriculum is that too, right? The student comes in and says, these are the kind of problems I wanna solve, and I want my work to go towards solving these kinds of problems.
Right.
Great. Here's what you need to do in order to be good at that, right?
That's true.
So I think
You can
that's
also
your- I
call
think
it
you're right.
problem-based too,
It's need-based,
or problem-based.
but
Yeah.
in that same
Yeah,
way, it's
yeah.
problem-based.
So that is the unique side of it, not that those courses you cannot take in any other schools or any other PhD program, but the flexibility or the tailored aspect of it.
Well, and I think I'm a little more sensitive to these things, because a lot of these things are buzzwords that everyone uses, that is kind of less meaningful. Like, you can say collaboration, but I went to 6 graduate schools in the last,
They
4
all
months,
collaborate?
and everyone is collaborating with everyone.
Right.
No matter where you go, we're all
Right.
collaborating, right?
Why don't you call ourselves inherently collaborative? Well, there's
But even
one.
that, right,
It's the
you're just
same.
saying we
The-
collaborate, and
the-
everyone's collaborating
Well,
everywhere.
also, there is the model, remember, when you're building is somehow beyond the boundaries, so.
I worked that in, Sharon.
You did?
I liked that.
I
yeah.
know, yeah, so maybe it's the transcending the boundary is what it is, really the part that we're, okay, paragraph
Can
now.
I ask a question?
Yeah.
I feel like we did the paragraph, but.
Well, we don't really did.
How does this read to you though, given that you've been out there looking at PhD programs? Like,
So-
if you read this, are you like, yeah, like this looks like everybody else, they're
Since
trying
I
to
know what
spin
to
it.
look for, parts of it kind of stick out as more interesting, but I think it's something that you could definitely focus on. So a lot of it is like the coursework, but all you do is mention coursework in like one sentence, right?
Mhm.
Like, and you say, well, it involves incorporation of all of these different things, which is a
Mhm.
long list. When more meaningful, impactful things would be like, we have these requirements which are different from other people. If you go to a chemical engineering program, you will take courses in chemistry, you will take courses in mass transfer, you will take courses in these things. At IME, you will take courses, potentially, it's up to you, in communication, in business,
In law.
in physics,
Yeah,
in
in law,
quantum
yeah.
computing, in all of these different things, right?
Based on the problem you wanna solve. So
Right.
that's where the
Right.
difference
Right,
is.
and everyone will say we have faculty doing inorganic chemistry, whatever else. But you could say, we have faculty that start companies that work with cancer treatments while doing quantum computing, that are in the exact same lab, bridging the gaps between all of these massive things. And so a lot of what this is like, well, IME covers these things. Well, a lot of people cover a lot of things. But to say that each individual person, each part of IME is getting this huge breadth of information, is expanding how they themselves are doing things, is a tremendous difference.
So, thank you, that's very helpful.
What
This-
about our approach of completely blending the theorist and experimentalist together?
That helps somewhat. I mean, that's a pretty common thing too, right? Just
Is
like
it?
how
Mhm.
Juan involved in here, like most theory groups work around the assumption that they are working out things that will be experimentally tested by like someone. So it would need to be sort of an emphasis on the different areas of these
Yeah.
things, the different problems and how you're combining these problems, integrating them, and the fact that like David Absalom is one of the leading experts on quantum computing, and yet he's trying to control single electrons in biological molecules, right? Like you're
Right.
bridging these gaps
Those
that
are
just
really
don't
different disciplines.
normally
So maybe
happen.
there's, we actually never really talked about, that's really good, is talking about our faculty and student alike tackle problems with the skill sets they have. So it's, as long as you have that skill set, you can tackle just,
Right.
multiple problems.
Well, and I think it's appealing, everyone talks about their departments doing everything, but it's appealing to say that as a single student, you can pursue these different things.
So
You
what-
can bridge these gaps.
So what do you, so my brain is like going a mile an hour here, so what do you think about, adding here in the beginning, rather than starting, which I think this is kind of a boring way to start this,
Yeah.
the instrument, some of this I pulled already from what we have, right, so I was just trying to
Yeah.
cobble together and then kind of tweak it and mold it a little
Yeah.
bit more, but what if we started here with a couple of like short, one-line little stories,
Yeah.
like,
You give a name, say, hey, so-and-so is working in the lab, that possibly, next step can be, a new generation of battery, but also solve the problems of the encryption for the data, the
Well-
same breath.
yeah, something like that, but not even that long, like what you just said about David Absalom.
Yeah, I was gonna
Like-
say, you could say like quantum computing will revolutionize algorithms, and you could say, immunology will revolutionize cancer treatments, but what about quantum computing revolutionizing the way we see biology?
Right.
Right?
This
Things
is
like
what
that.
the IME is doing,
Yes.
like that kind of like
That's
opening,
what's compelling
like,
and interesting.
that you could take that and just put it on a brochure, right,
Yeah.
and by itself, and
That's
then,
cool.
but then it would tell the rest of the story, like
Yeah.
how is this related to what we do?
Right.
Yeah.
And how do you prepare the students
Yeah.
to take
To
on
take on
something
something
Yeah.
like that, right, yeah.
which is different from other
Yeah.
places.
Right, or what is a I know I feel like I sound like comedian when I talk about this stuff, but like what is a biological electron or have to do with quantum computing?
Right.
Well, so Davis.
You might think nothing, but I mean we wouldn't
Well,
put it like
if
that.
you think about the Davis manipulation of one single electron spin can result both in a next generation computing, but also in a completely new way of detecting protein structures. So that's the completely
Right.
spread
Yeah.
of the application. So the other thing you could do is do a fictional sort of student of IME, then this student could be in one way study, research in one area, but then in another way can tackle, artistic challenges versus, that's another thing a lot of people think it's really unique, is you can do more than just science.
Right.
Here, right?
So-
So,
We'd have to be careful in one, there, in being fair, so I'm not gonna just plug David's work, but have to like
right.
come up with a couple of examples that maybe take half the faculty and the other example takes the other half, so this way
Yeah,
everybody's accounted
yeah.
for. And then, and maybe adding a third sentence of, now add art to the mix, it
Yeah.
would be nicer than that, but like,
Yeah.
what happens when you add art to the mix, and then you get this.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And it could link to other, so I have a short story that I wanna get on the website at some point, it's not ready to go yet, but, from Daniel
Yeah.
Reed,
Yeah.
who is doing this arts and science.
Mhm.
He was a grad fellow there, and it's, his blurb is very powerful in how it impacted what he does.
Mhm.
So in this, then it could be like, what happens when you put arts in the mix, and it's like a link to that story,
We
right?
should put that in
Right.
actually the annual report for sure.
Yes.
So we put, Daniel, not Daniel,
John.
Johnny's, the opera singer into
Mhm.
the last one, so we definitely should put the annual, and then we can definitely talk about the innovation fellows.
Right.
They were putting
See, these are
together.
the things that I think make it more compelling.
So those could be three, like the first three sentences could really, like 3 lines
Yeah.
that jump out at students and force them to click to other
Yeah,
parts of our site, and then
exactly.
they come back to the rest of the story.
Yeah,
and
you
it
have
has
to
more,
really
like,
make it
kind of boring information.
strikingly strange. In other words, those combinations have to be strikingly strange, I'm like, what?
Right.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, cause
you
I mean,
know,
that's what a lot of this reads as and, which is why my sentence kind of had like the ands were about IME. Cause they're not reading as much like buts as I think
Yeah.
we want them to.
But I think by putting in some examples like that, the but will be inherent.
Yes.
Or implied,
Yes.
not inherent, implied. And then will compel people to read the rest of it.
I
right?
agree.
Cause they'll wanna
Yeah.
know, well, how does this get done,
Yes.
right? And I think then we'd still have to include the, we were established in 2011, blah, blah, blah. That has to, like, some of it just has to be in there. But the beginning could be more,
Right, yeah.
what do you think?
I think that makes sense. I like that.
Uh-oh. There's something coming. How long do we have left to go?
Oh, I have to leave, so.
This is done in 1 minute.
Okay,
So this
couple
was the
minutes, I'll be done. Bye.
I think that would
My
read
driver
very
is
different
ready.
from this, just as far as feel goes. Cause I think this has good information, it's very well written, obviously, and it says important things.
We just need to add
But-
a few more sort of catchy. things
Yeah,
at the beginning.
things that kind of set it up to be
Catchy and sort of
something
concrete in a way. I
different.
mean, this is sort of more like.
It's kind of
amorphous,
abstract.
Intangible, like,
Yeah.
look, you're doing different stuff.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, and I think it would help to
but
say,
that's
to
sort of-
list like a class you could take. Like say, take a class, communications in the sciences, or like take a class on
Or the arts and
business
science
structure,
initiative.
arts
Yeah.
science
Yeah.
initiative,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Or stage, whatever.
Or
Cause we're
innovation,
still in
yeah.
here,
Or
like
innovation.
just saying, you're just kind of listing these words, you're saying electronic, optical, mechanical, chemical, biological.
Yeah.
Well, like those things mean a lot of things.
That, I did not write that I
Yeah.
pulled off
Sure.
somewhere else, So, okay, that's
Okay.
really helpful, I think we can punch it up without making it cheesy, like
Yeah.
a cheesy marketing
Yeah.
piece, but still like a meaningful.
More substantive.
More
It is really
substantive, yeah.
very substantive. It just needs to call out some of these really unusual features we feel that we actually do have here. So, okay,
That's really helpful, thanks.
so where is your dramatic piece? No, the fictional ones. I can't wait.
I wrote this in like 5 minutes, so sorry.
So is
Back
mine.
then, but-
Last time I only wrote mine in like 5 minutes. Fictionals are easy, you can see.
Literally in 5 minutes.
good angle, I like the angle, but you can be a little more dramatic.
I wrote it in 5 minutes, Sharon.
So I think one thing you might, if you truly are gonna make it up, is about, the interesting people they met here, that, cause we talked about, like he was sitting at the table drinking beer with the aerospace engineering, together with a, biomedical pre-med student who are like completely just mashing together, I mean, so, I think that's one thing people find is really cool here, is you really get interacting with all these people with such totally different backgrounds. But it's a good
It's
angle.
true. It's boring, I know it's boring, it's okay. I don't mind. I have like a billion other things I could do, so
I know.
I'm lucky it's done.
No. But this is a good angle, but it is, from student point of view, is to really think about how cool, what is the cool thing?
Yeah.
Oh, you looked
And then
at
we
the
all
black
went out and
box
got-
theater, so,
Yeah, no, you're right,
So, cool, are we done?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, David said we're done,